He was told a black man could never own a bank. So he bought the entire building that held 4 of them. This isn't fiction. It's the true story of a man who turned racism into his greatest weapon, outsmarting Wall Street, white bankers, and even the US government itself. But his rise would spark a war that money couldn't protect him from. The story opens on a quiet street in Texas, 1939. A young black boy sits under the blazing sun, polishing shoes outside a grand white bank. But don't be fooled by that shabby hat. Beneath it hides a brilliant mind, one already thinking like a businessman. This boy's name is Bernard, and while he shines shoes for pennies, that's not what he's really here for. He deliberately set up his stall in front of the bank where all the rich white men passed by. He works slowly, not to earn more money, but to listen. Every whisper about stocks, property, or money, he catches it, remembers it, and writes it down in a small notebook the moment they leave. Because what he really wants isn't their coins, it's their knowledge. Even as a child, Bernard knows his dream, to become a banker. But in 1939 Texas, that dream is almost impossible. His father reminds him with a heavy heart, "A black man can't be a banker, son." But Bernard's eyes don't waver. He believes one day he will prove everyone wrong. Years later, 15 years to be exact, Bernard moves his wife Eunice and their little daughter to Los Angeles. The discrimination here isn't as brutal as Texas, and Bernard is determined to build something for his family. They live in a cramped utility room at a relative's place. It's small, it's broken, but Bernard promises his wife, "This is only temporary. We'll have our own home soon." He starts working as a real estate agent, walking the city day after day, studying every neighborhood. That's when he notices something most people don't. The black communities are overcrowded, but the white neighborhoods have empty houses, unsold and unwanted. Black families have money, but no one's willing to rent or sell to them. Bernard sees what others can't, a goldmine of opportunity. One day, he spots an old white-owned apartment building overgrown with weeds and falling apart. But its location, right next to a thriving black neighborhood. Bernard knows instantly this place could change everything. He approaches the owner. "You've only rented half of this building," he says confidently. "Sell it to me. I'll pay you $30,000 now and $5,000 more once I fill every room." The owner admires his boldness but refuses. It's too risky. Bernard leaves politely, but as he walks out, his eyes catch something on the wall, a bank calendar with the manager's name on it. That's when a new plan sparks in his mind. He rushes straight to the bank, asking to meet the manager. But the secretary, a white woman with disdain in her eyes, blocks him immediately. She won't even say his name. So Bernard waits. Hours pass. When the manager finally steps outside, Bernard approaches him directly. "I know one of your VIP clients," he says. "If you approve my loan, it'll benefit him too." The manager barely lets him finish before saying no and walking away. That night, Bernard gets a call. It's the apartment owner. He sounds serious. "Did you use my name to ask for a loan?" Bernard admits it, apologizing immediately. But instead of anger, the man laughs. He says, "You don't give up, do you?" Then, unexpectedly, he offers to guarantee the loan himself. And just like that, Bernard gets the first loan of his life. He buys the building, but when he arrives to inspect it, an old white lady from the neighborhood spots him and storms over. "What are you doing here?" she snaps. "I'm renovating the apartment," Bernard replies calmly. She frowns. "Workers like you should be careful around here." Bernard looks her in the eye. "Don't worry, ma'am. This is my building, and I'll take good care of it." She's left speechless and furious. Moments later, the police arrive. "Ma'am says you're impersonating the owner," one officer says. Bernard smiles, pulls out a folder and shows them the property certificate, already anticipating this moment. The cops exchange awkward glances, realize their mistake, and leave. That night, Bernard returns to the building again. But the same old lady is waiting at the door. She points at him and yells, "Get out!" It's too late for any renovations. Bernard looks the old lady straight in the eye and calmly says, "I'm not a renovation worker anymore. I'm the owner." The woman freezes. Her jaw practically drops. A few days later, she packs up and leaves in anger. She just can't stand the thought of living under the same roof as a black man. But Bernard, he wastes no time. The moment she's gone, he rents out her place to a black tenant. And just as he predicted, the demand is massive. The building fills up in no time, and Bernard delivers the rest of the payment to the former owner, right on schedule. The owner, impressed by Bernard's sharp mind and unshakable drive, makes him a bold offer. "Why don't we go into business together?" Bernard agrees without hesitation. He'll pick the properties and calculate the profits, while the old man handles the contracts, so that on paper, white people never realize they're actually doing business with a black man. The partnership works like magic. Together, they make a fortune. Bernard soon moves his family from a cramped apartment into a beautiful mansion, a home filled with laughter, comfort, and the pride of success built from nothing. This is Bernard's way of fighting discrimination, not with fists, but with brilliance. When they look down on him, he doesn't fight back. He changes the game. Because to Bernard, the real victory is rational, strategic, and profitable. But life doesn't stay easy for long. The old man, his trusted business partner, suddenly passes away. His share of the company is inherited by his widow, a woman who despises black people even more than society already does. She summons Bernard and offers to buy his shares, but at a laughably low price. And if he refuses, she threatens to sue him. In that era, a courtroom fight between a black man and a white woman, everyone knows who the judge would favor. Still, Bernard refuses to back down. He's not giving up what he built. Determined, he prepares to go to court, but he needs someone to testify, to prove his partnership with the late owner. He turns to the bank manager for help. But the man, now working closely with the widow, turns his back on him too. Standing inside the bank, Bernard looks around. Every wall, every desk, every smile hides the same truth. This place isn't built for people like him. The system itself is designed to shut him out. And that's when a bold, impossible idea sparks in his mind. There are 4 banks in this building, 4 symbols of power that have always closed their doors on him. Bernard clenches his fist and says to himself, "Fine. If I can't get through your doors, I'll buy the whole building." He meets with Joe, another successful black real estate developer in Los Angeles, and shares his plan. Joe laughs at first, thinking Bernard's gone mad. The land under those banks is worth a fortune. No black man has ever bought property in downtown LA. But as Bernard explains his logic, Joe's laughter fades. He sees the genius in it. If Bernard owns the building, every bank inside will have to serve him. They'll have no choice but to approve his loans and share their real estate insights. It's not just revenge, it's strategy. Joe, inspired, agrees to join him. For both of them, this is more than business. It's power. It's proof that they can beat the system at its own game. But there's still one huge problem. They can't negotiate directly with white businessmen. No one would sell to them. So Bernard comes up with another clever plan. He'll find a white partner, a front man who can act on their behalf. And that's where Matt comes in. A young, honest man who's been helping Bernard with renovations. He's ambitious, loyal, but inexperienced. Bernard sees potential and decides to train him. Under Bernard and Joe's mentorship, Matt transforms. They teach him golf, business etiquette, real estate strategy, and financial math. Soon, he's not just confident, he's calculating property values mid-swing. At a local golf club, Matt meets the owner of the very same bank building Bernard wants to buy. The meeting, of course, is no coincidence. Joe orchestrated the whole thing. The two get along well, and the owner offers Matt the opportunity to purchase the building. But Matt's nervous. This is the deal of a lifetime, and he's never done anything like it before. Bernard reassures him, "Don't worry, I'll prepare you for everything." And that's exactly what he does. Before the big negotiation, Bernard spends nights studying every tiny detail about the building. He counts how many lights stay on after dark to calculate the vacancy rate, studies the annual revenue, the maintenance costs, and even the local property trends. He crunches every number and makes sure Matt memorizes them all. So when the owner of the bank building tries to bluff his way through the meeting, Matt fires back with exact figures, effortlessly. Every lie, every exaggeration, Bernard had already prepared him for. The owner is stunned. Even his accountant is speechless. To them, Matt looks like a math prodigy, a genius who can't be fooled. In the end, Bernard and his team buy a building originally worth $2.4 million for just $1.56 million. And just like that, Bernard achieves the unthinkable. Now, every time he walks through those doors, the presidents of the banks inside come out to shake his hand. The same people who once refused to even look his way. The manager who once insulted him left speechless. With the banks now on their side, Bernard and Joe's real estate empire explodes. They break through LA's strict racial zoning, helping countless young black families move into white neighborhoods for the first time in history. Their success even earns them a meeting with the Vice President of the United States. Years later, in 1963, Bernard takes his family back home to Texas to visit his father, Britton. Over dinner, the old man's eyes fill with pride. He tells Bernard how proud he is, how far he's come from that little boy shining shoes outside a bank. The next morning, Bernard takes his son for a walk through town until they unknowingly stop in front of that same bank where he once worked. There, he spots a young black boy shining shoes, just like he used to. But when a black customer approaches, the boy refuses to polish his shoes. "I only shine shoes for white folks," he says. That moment hits Bernard hard. It reminds him that no matter how far he's come, so many others are still trapped where he started. He decides right then, he's going to change that. Soon after, Bernard meets Joe again and tells him his new plan. "We're going to buy a bank." In Texas, Joe nearly chokes on his drink. "Are you crazy? Texas? That's the heart of racism in America." But Bernard's determination wins him over. Together, with Matt as their front man once again, they target the mainland Bank of Texas. They meet the bank's owners, Robert Florence Sr. and Jr., to discuss the numbers. Despite Jr.'s doubts, the deal goes through. Bernard and Joe now officially own the bank. Immediately, Bernard starts using it to help black families get fair loans, people who were always denied before. For a while, everything goes beautifully. Families get homes, neighborhoods start to change, and Bernard finally feels like he's making real progress. But then, Florence Jr. starts digging. He tracks the loans, grows suspicious, and finally confronts Matt, Bernard, and Joe. With a smug smile, he warns them that the U.S. Treasury Department will be inspecting their bank in 1 month. After he leaves, panic sets in. The men gather to discuss their options. Matt suddenly proposes an idea. "Let's buy another bank, transfer all the problem loans there, and keep mainland clean." They consider the Bank of Marlin. Bernard worries about oversight, but Matt insists, "Let me handle it. I'll run it myself." Reluctantly, Bernard agrees, but he makes sure his wife Eunice keeps an eye on him. Soon, Matt's in charge of his own bank, but instead of tightening controls, he rushes into deals, even hiring a lawyer secretly connected to Florence Jr. And through that lawyer, Florence sneaks in fake loans, setting them up for failure. Not long after, the nightmare begins. Florence Jr. calls Matt saying major clients are withdrawing their money. A federal examiner shows up at the Bank of Marlin, ready to investigate. Bernard, desperate to help, disguises himself as a janitor to listen in. But even that can't save them. The examiner uncovers fraudulent loans, all tied to their names. Bernard is crushed. It's not just a mistake, it's a trap. Florence Jr. had orchestrated everything. Matt, feeling cornered, makes a move behind Bernard and Joe's backs. But it's too late. Federal regulators revoke Mainland Bank's license. As Bernard and Joe walk out of the building, FBI agents close in and arrest them on the spot. Their world, everything they built, collapses in an instant. Later, their lawyer explains the ugly truth. Their case has become political. The system wants to make an example out of them. Meanwhile, Matt meets with Senator Mullen, who offers him a deal: testify against Bernard and Joe and walk free. That night, torn with guilt, Matt calls Bernard. He apologizes but doesn't say much. The next day, he takes the deal and testifies against them. Soon after, Senator Mullen meets with Bernard too, offering him the same immunity deal if he'll confirm Matt's lies. But Bernard refuses. At the Senate hearing, instead of saving himself, he finally says what's been in his heart all along. He speaks about racial injustice, about the system designed to keep people like him from ever succeeding. His words shake the room. In the end, both Bernard and Joe lose everything: their fortunes, their banks, and their freedom. Florence Jr. buys back Mainland Bank for a fraction of its worth. Matt walks free. Years later, Bernard and Joe are released from prison. Eunice notices something strange. Despite losing everything, the two men seem calm, even content. Then Joe smiles and says, "We didn't lose everything." Eunice looks confused until he tells her the truth. Before Matt testified, that late-night phone call he made wasn't just to apologize. It was to warn Bernard. He told him about the senator's deal, giving Bernard time to move their remaining assets offshore. Bernard had asked him for one final favor: to protect what really mattered. When the government seized their U.S. properties, they didn't know about the ones in the Bahamas. 2 side-by-side mansions, one for Bernard, one for Joe. Their legacy lived on, not just in their hidden fortune, but in the change they sparked. Their real estate empire had already broken the walls of segregation in Los Angeles, paving the way for countless black families to own homes in white neighborhoods. And as for Bernard and Joe, they didn't just rewrite their own story, they rewrote history.